Half Pint's parents were not messing around. They absolutely made the right decision, in my opinion. Let's talk about it. Hi guys, welcome to the channel. If you like hearing stories from the 90s, subscribe. Let's get into it. Two lead singers, both in the industry, found success in different R&B groups, both iconic. But was there a heavy price to pay for fame? Let's take a look at the first lead singer, Marcus Houston. Born in Los Angeles in 1981, from a very early age, he knew that he wanted to be an entertainer. In school, he was always singing and dancing, so he decided to form a group with his friends. In 1990, Marcus became one of the founding members of the group Immature, which he formed with his friend Jerome Romeo Jones and their Filipino friend Don Half Pint Santos. They entered a talent show at their school and won. They soon became known in their local area. Jerome also attended acting classes. At one class, he met Chris Stokes, a 23-year-old local producer. Chris basically molded the group. He wrote and produced tracks for them, and they were soon able to approach record companies. They got the attention of Virgin Records and soon got signed. So just a couple of years after entering a school talent show, they released their first album. Of course, their youth was a factor, and the group's name played up to this. One publication said, "Youthful singers are nothing new, as Michael Jackson and Stevie Wonder can attest, but they have rarely been as bankable as they are now. The two 13-year-old rappers in Criss Cross have sold more than 3 million copies of their debut album. Teenagers, Boys to Men, have been at the top of the charts for most of the year." The boys were asked about Criss Cross all the time. Humbly speaking, Marcus once said, "We wouldn't say we're better, but we're just as good as they are." Their debut album, On Our Worst Behavior, was described as a pubescent version of New Jack Swing, combining rap and soul. Like Criss Cross, Immature were also known for their innovative style. It was described in the following way. All three wear short pants, so huge they look like midi dresses, baggy shirts and granny glasses from Paris. They also favour huge, multicoloured hats and seem willing to try anything, like wrapping a pair of boys' briefs around one hat or holding a toothbrush in the mouth like a pipe.
And you were known as Batman at the time.
Yeah.
Why Batman?
Oh boy. So, I used to wear the Batman drawers on my head. Like, yes.
So Chris Stokes became their manager and made all the business decisions, was basically the brains behind the group, writing all the music and producing their sound. He said when he wrote their songs, he tried to capture the personalities of the boys and their life experiences. He arranged photo shoots, interviews, appearances, sponsorship deals. The boys appeared on the Arsenio Hall Show, A Different World, House Party 3, and Soul Train. But at just 11, the boys were pulled out of regular school and were given tutors instead. They were tutored for 3 hours a day while they were on the road. And they admitted that they did miss school. They missed their friends, they missed playing basketball, they missed hanging out in the schoolyard. It was at this point that Half Pint's parents became concerned about his education. They weren't satisfied with the tutoring and not going to proper school. After they won the school talent show, as far as the parents were concerned, it was just a school talent show. It wasn't anything spectacular. But they soon got the attention of Hook Management, a local talent agency. With the boys being just 8 or 9 at the time, all three families were apprehensive, but they all went along with it because they thought, it's what the boys wanted. After signing with Virgin, the boys immediately went on the road. They were pulled out from school and were no longer having a normal childhood, essentially. Not only was Don missing school, he was spending less and less time with his family and friends. So it's been said that Half Pint's parents decided to take him out of the group because they were concerned about his education. They weren't satisfied that he was going to get a proper education while he was in the group. Also, perhaps they were trying to protect him from some of the pitfalls that come along with being in the industry, especially at such a young age. Who knows? We'll definitely get into that later. I did actually find an old interview with one of Immature's tutors. They're actually called studio teachers, and they go on the road with different famous kids. As a studio teacher, I could teach up to 10 kids of all different grades. When I worked on the movie Shout, I had first graders to 12th graders. They all went to different schools and they all had different curriculum. So I had a co-teacher help me most of the time. When school is not in session, I still need to be on the set for kids up to the age of 15 to oversee their welfare. They have to, for instance, eat within 6 hours of coming to the set. There are a whole bunch of labor laws in the state of California, and I have to memorize those. So, for example, if you're 9 to 15 years old, you can stay on the set 9.5 hours. When asked about Immature and whether they clowned around, she laughed and said that they didn't clown around, but they would sometimes get up and dance. She said the following: I did go on the road with PYT in Florida. I didn't go on the road with Immature, but I taught them for several years, and I went to their concerts out here. They were good, and they were real energetic. Also, Shia LaBeouf, he's just a natural comedian. When I had him just one-on-one in the classroom, we would get work done. But whenever anybody else was in there, it was like it was a captive audience, and Shia would entertain everybody. Now, it's not impossible to finish your education while you're a child star. Tia and Tamara, for example, both have college degrees, although they did say it took them quite a while to finish school. And we know Marcus starred alongside the two of them in Sister Sister, playing the character Roger.
Go home, Roger. Can you put a girl in the hot tub?
Go home, Roger.
Marcus's acting career took off at the same time as his music career. He first landed the role as the voice of Khalil in Bebe Kids. Immature's most successful single on their debut album, Tear It Up, was featured on Bebe Kids. In 1994, Marcus landed the role of Roger in Sister Sister. At the same time, Immature got a new deal with MCA Records. They began working on their second album, Playtime, which was released the same year and got good reviews from critics. One said, "Skilled beyond its tender years, this young soul trio sings positive lyrics about friendship, young love and relaxation over slick, smooth, new jack tracks." Never Lie was their biggest hit. It reached 5 on Billboard and was certified gold. In the meantime, Half Pint was replaced by the group's drummer, Kelton Kesey. I looked up Half Pint and he lives a very private life. I saw one photo online of his wedding, but that's all I've seen. I found a mini documentary called Searching for Half Pint. I'll link it below. The filmmaker goes out into the local community and visits all of Half Pint's old hangouts. He asks people if they have seen Half Pint. He found some people who went to school with him. He found some people who knew him locally, but didn't give any more information than that. It's even alleged in a documentary that the group deliberately covered up Half Pint's features to hide the fact that he was Asian.
Being childhood friends, Marcus and Romeo asked Don to join the group. Sadly, they had to hide Don's Asian features with hats and sunglasses.
He usually wore sunglasses and big hats. I really hope that isn't true, because the filmmaker said as a Filipino himself, he loved seeing the fact that there was somebody who looked like him on TV, especially in R&B. So it became apparent that he really does want to live a private life and certainly doesn't want to be famous anymore. But check out the documentary. So Marcus guest starred in A Different World for 2 episodes. He's been in House Party 3, he starred alongside Keenan and Kel, and he was in a dance movie, You Got Served. Immature did a cameo in Destiny's Child's No No No, and Marcus also did a cameo in their Jumpin' Jumpin' video. Marcus had a decent acting career, especially in the early 2000s, but on Sister Sister he was on the show for 5 seasons. He never appeared on the final season because his mother got very sick and sadly passed away in 1997. Marcus wrote the song Please Don't Go for his mother, which appeared on their 3rd album. He would have only been about 15 at the time. So Immature changed their name to IMX, Obviously, as the boys got older, it just seemed more appropriate. And they went on to pursue different things. In 2002, they each decided to pursue solo projects and kind of started doing their own thing. They didn't officially disband, but many considered that the time they broke up. Marcus said that he made more money through acting than he did with music, even though they had a decent contract with the music side of things. But with acting and being on a TV show, he said he got a regular check. So I guess with the music, from 1 week to the next, you didn't know where your next check was coming from. So Marcus said that he and the other members of Immature had a hand in forming B2K, especially as they had family members in B2K. Demario Thornton, aka Raz B, is Chris Stokes' cousin. So B2K apparently came on the scene when the whole teeny bopping boy band thing was kind of dying out. But they had an advantage that they were in their late teens. I know Omarion was about 18, so they were between maybe, 16 to 18 years of age, as opposed to being 11 and 12, like the other acts such as Criss Cross or Immature. The Spokane Review said, B2K actually got its start following in the footsteps of another teen act, the 90s R&B trio Immature, or IMX. That group's manager, Chris Stokes, was looking to put together a new group and decided to keep it in the family. Raz B is his cousin, and another B2K member, J Boog, Joel Houston, is the cousin of IMX's lead singer, Marcus Houston. Editor for Teen People magazine said, "They're almost like the new Boys to Men, and right now, there really isn't anybody else filling that hole. They came along at a time when there really wasn't anybody else. Despite their connections, they actually had to work on their act for 4 years before getting a deal. But once they released their first single, they blew up." So B2K, or Boys of the New Millennium, reached number 2 on Billboard with their debut album and number 1 in the R&B charts. Then there was the infamous Scream Tours, which they performed in over 40 cities across the country, and it went on for year after year. They would perform with artists such as Bow Wow, Ray J, Pretty Ricky, Bobby Valentino, Nick Cannon, and the members of Immature. The shows were sponsored by BET and they were hugely successful, and I'm sure the artists made a good amount of money. B2K reunited in 2019 for their Millennium Reunion Tour. There was a lot of drama on the tour, most notably because Little Fizz had begun a relationship with April Jones, Omarion's former fiancée and the mother of his 2 children. But on a more serious note, issues began to emerge concerning Raz B, issues that had stemmed way back from when the group first started. In the first few weeks of the tour, Raz B made an announcement on Instagram saying that he was considering leaving the tour because he felt unsafe. "I don't feel safe because I feel like Chris Stokes is around. So guess what? I'm off the tour. Good luck to everybody. No disrespect to Omarion, because he's my brother."
Always been denied by all the other parties involved. There was never any proof, but he kept saying it over and over again.
But I definitely think something happened to him. I don't know what happened to him, but I think something happened to him.
Raz B has made some allegations in the past and present, saying that he was SA'd while in the group. Deciding to stay on the tour, he released another post saying, "I'm a work in progress. I appreciate the outpouring of love, empathy and understanding from my supporters. I look forward to continuing the Millennium Tour. For our fans, you all deserve it." While the group were in Nashville, Raz B ended up walking off stage. He later took to Instagram again to say the following: "It really sucks. This being my dream tour, it's not right. I'm the spirit of the group. I'm clearly alone in this. Nashville, Tennessee. It's being real. Omarion, thanks for being there for me when nobody else would. I suggest nobody talk to me, because none of y'all understand what I'm walking through. Change the effing intro. I hate it." And then a fan who attended the show said the following: "On top of whatever else he has going on, it looked like he was having issues with his headset. And then he grabbed the mic and it wasn't working either. That was before he walked off the stage. And as if that wasn't enough, later that year, he ended up getting arrested in a DV situation after an altercation with his girlfriend outside of Macy's. However, the charges against Raz B were dropped, and in subsequent interviews, he actually said that he wasn't the aggressor in that situation. He said that when men are involved in domestic violence situations, they usually receive less sympathy and even ridicule, which is true. He also faced ridicule and backlash due to the SA allegations. He said, unlike with women, people are just less sympathetic when it involves a man who is the victim. Raz B also made the same allegations against Marcus Houston, who has done interviews denying all allegations.
Only talks when you're about to drop something.
He jumps on the fact of he's an attention whore. You know, he wants that attention because B2K was huge. Everybody know how huge B2K was.
Yeah.
And it's like, when something like that is stripped from you and then you can't get any fame, you know, you go to the extreme measures, and the dude he's psycho.
Is he on drugs or?
Yeah.
Oh, he's on drugs.
Yeah.
And Chris Stokes also released statements denying the allegations. In 2020, Marcus Houston got engaged to Maya Dickey. He was 19 at the time, and he was 38. So obviously a few eyebrows were raised, and he addressed the backlash. Because she was 19 at the time of their engagement, people questioned when exactly they started dating. Some even wondered if it was a Kylie Jenner and Tiger situation, for instance. And Maya met Marcus through Chris Stokes. She's very close friends with his daughter, and she considers him a father figure. People claim that Maya actually worked for Chris Stokes and Marcus in their production company, even saying that she had some credits on some of the projects that they had worked on. But Marcus has since denied this, saying that she would have been too young to be given any sort of credits. And on Instagram, Marcus said, "Maya and I didn't start dating until she was an adult. We fell in love and got engaged in March of 2019. So apparently they met in 2018 and were engaged 5 months later. And there was a missing persons report made in 2016 in Oregon for a Mayana Dickey. Page 6 became aware of this and reported that Marcus's fiancée at the time may have been a missing teen who was missing since the age of 15. Some Twitter users pointed out that Maya's name was listed on IMDb as art director for Chris and Marcus's production company. To many, this was proof that Marcus had actually known Maya a lot longer than he had claimed. However, Marcus said that it must have been a misprint, or some people may have altered the IMDb to be, quote, messy. So, yeah. Raz B said he's currently working on a documentary that will tell his story, so I'm just going to leave it at that. So for years, fans wondered why Romeo wore an eye patch. Many assumed it was a fashion statement. However, a rumour surfaced saying that Brandy Norwood was indeed responsible for the eye patch. On top of that, Romeo seemed to confirm that rumour in songs, alluding to it actually being true. So Brandy and Ray J have known the members of Immature since they were 8 or 9 years old, and apparently Chris Stokes helped her get her record deal. On the Nick Cannon's morning show, Jerome actually confirmed that Brandy was indeed responsible for damaging his eye permanently. Brandy and Half Pint got into it. She had a book in her hand and just tossed it backwards, not thinking I was close to her. It cut my retina and detached it. The lens to my eye fell out, and actually Brandon Adams was there and caught it. So he was there holding my lens. He didn't know what was going on. Mark come in and we're trying to hide it. So I should have warned you, that was pretty brutal, but basically kids were messing about. Brandy threw a book and it's obviously a freak accident. No wonder Half Pint's parents wanted out. Brandy said that she felt guilty for years because he had beautiful hazel eyes. So one of the songs where Romeo addresses the incident is Look Down on Me. I remember when Brandy Norwood hit me in my eye. I had a detached retina. My lens came out. I had to have 3 eye surgeries. And she thought we'll never be cool again. But I put that on my life. I love her to death, and if she can hear me talking, I know she can hear the honesty in my voice and my sincerity. On an episode of Love and Hip Hop, Ray J and Brandy were talking about a tour that they were potentially going to do with Immature. Brandy expressed apprehension about seeing Romeo there, especially in light of what she did to his eye. I'm concerned about seeing him because I don't know if he knows that what happened with the whole eye thing, it wasn't intentional. I could never do something like that intentional because I had a low-key crush on Jerome back in the day. So apparently it was a Jehovah's Witness book which had really sharp edges, and she just threw it up in the air and it hit him right on the eye. I don't think I'm really over that because, you know, Jerome had hazel eyes. I don't want him to feel uncomfortable. I don't even know what to say. I mean, they were all kids at the time, and apparently the management kept telling them to chill because they were really like, just, you know, a bit too excited. And yeah, it's really, really unfortunate, but it's good to see that Jerome and Brandy have a good relationship. He has nothing but love for her and, you know, isn't bitter or resentful about it, because that would make the situation a lot worse. And, you know, he still looks good, but obviously that's someone's eye. So after the Mario and Omarion Verzuz battle, unfortunately, the members of B2K are beefing. Firstly, the other members weren't invited, and, you know, it would have been nice to have a little B2K reunion as part of the Verzuz battle. And J-Boo clowned Omarion for his, quote, lack of talent, saying, "You look lost, almost like you're looking for us to feed off. You were a fame hog, and that got the best of you." And then he said, "Chris Brown took your career, and Bow Wow took your tour." This was because Omarion referred to the others as backing dancers. But I'm sure if another opportunity to tour and make money arises, they'll figure it out. And it appears the guys of Immature and B2K are no longer cool. This may be due to the issue between Raz B and Marcus Houston.
The relationship between you and B2K, how are you guys? Because is everybody good? Is it not good?
Actually, no. I mean, everything's not good. You know, Boog works with the company, so we talk to Boog all the time. I haven't talked to O in a minute, and it's not that it's bad or good. It's just
it just is what it is.
Everybody grew apart,
Situation
kind of split. You know,
Yeah.
They separate ways.
yeah.
Because you know that's what people gonna want to see next, and it's so interesting that because their group, this
their
person might be
dynamic.
cool.
I'm gonna tell you, their dynamic is
It's different.
It's different too.
very different.
Yes.
Like we are actually friends.
They at work.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
co-workers.
Yeah, 'cause
Thanks for watching. Share your thoughts below, you know I read the comments. Like and subscribe for weekly videos. And don't forget to click the bell for more.